Hi, this is Dr. K. Satyanarayan Reddy, and I have 30 years of experience in teaching computer science and engineering subjects. And currently, I am presenting the subject data communications. Please view it, subscribe it, and share it in large numbers. Right. Now we shall see the layers. Bluetooth has several layers, right? Which actually do not match with that of internet model, what we have defined already. So it has several layers, but we will discuss a few of them. So one layer is called a logical link control adaptation protocol, or L2 cap, where L2 stands for logical link, right? So L2 cap is called logical link control adaptation protocol, or L2 cap, is very much similar to link layer, what I mean to say, control protocol sublayer in LAN. So now this is shown in the figure. Now this L2 cap is used for data exchange. You got the idea in ACL link and SCO channels. We will see what is ACL link and SCO channels very shortly after some time. So here SCO channels will not use L2 cap. Only L2 cap is used for data exchange on ACL link. ACL link. This is what you have to remember, that L2 cap is used for data transfer only in ACL link and not in SCO channels. Right. So now we shall see also that format for a data packet. We will see. So in the format of data packet, there is what I meant to say, a field length called as a length. You got the idea? A field called as a length, which is 16 bits in size. It defines the size of the data in bytes, right? Which are coming from upper layers, of the Bluetooth device. So I have length field, which is the size of length field is 16 bit. And what I meant to say, that 16 bit defines the size of the data. So data in 16 bits, if I'll make all the 16 bits 1, so that is the maximum data it can contain, right? Now it can be, basically data can be up to 65,535 bytes in size. Maximum size of the data that can be transferred through L2 cap, you got the idea, is 65,535 bytes. And in the frame, there is something called as channel ID or CID. It defines a unique identifier for a virtual channel, created at this level, So we'll see that. So L2 cap has a very specific duties to perform. So what duties it performs is, it can perform multiplexing, it can perform segmentation and reassembly, it can decide on quality of service, it can do the group management and all. So this is the entire what I meant to say, architecture of what I meant to say, Bluetooth. So you have the layers, the physical layer. In place of physical layer, I have something called as radio layer, and above radio layer, I have some thing called as a baseband layer. Above that, I have L2 cap layer, and L2 cap layer is used for exchanging the data. I'll have data defined here. Then I have a control, I have audio, I have applications running over here. And this is the what I meant to say, L2 cap data format that I was talking of. So this is nothing but length. As I said, it is 2 bytes in length. That means 16 bits. It defines the length of the data. So this data and control information can be minimum of 0 byte in length and maximum 65,535 bytes. And this channel ID is nothing but 2 byte distinct virtual, what I meant to say. So we have seen here, it is nothing but virtual channel, right? Virtual channel. Why I am calling it as virtual channel? Because Bluetooth is a ad hoc network, which will be always what I meant to say. be connected for a short duration of time and temporarily. So the channels amongst these communicating Bluetooth devices are what I meant to say virtual, happen through virtual channels only. Now, how multiplexing, segmentation, and reassembly occurs, let us see. So L2 cap can, do the multiplexing. So at the center site, what will happen is L2 cap will accept the data from one of its upper layer protocol and frames them. And it will deliver to the baseband layer. So you should remember that at the bottommost layer is radio layer. Above that we have baseband layer, and above that we have a L2 cap layer. So here, from upper layer, L2 cap layer will, receive the data, and it will, will form the frames. You got the idea? It will form the frame and delivers it to the baseband layer. At the receiver side, a frame from baseband layer is what I meant to say, baseband layer extracts the data and delivers data to the upper layer to appropriate protocol layer. Now this is it creates a kind of virtual channel. Now segmentation and reassembly, it says that maximum size of payload field at the baseband layer is 2774 bits. That means the data that can be handled by the baseband layer is maximum of 2774 bits, means 343 bytes. So, but I am saying that data size can be 65,535 bytes, whereas at baseband layer it can handle only data of maximum size 343 bytes. That indicates that the if data is larger than 343 bytes, it has to be segmented. It has to be segmented into several parts, each part comprising of 343 bytes. And why 343 bytes? That is the maximum size that baseband layer can handle. And this 343 bytes is including 4 bytes which will define the packet and its packet length, right? So whatever data that you are saying of 343 bytes, so suppose this is entire packet which is comprising of what I meant to say 343 bytes, right? 343 bytes. So 4 bytes, I can take this as 4 bytes. You got the idea? 4 bytes are there. Out of these 4 bytes, 2 bytes will be defining the length of the data. You got the idea? Length of the data. So it defines the length of the data. You got the idea? It defines the length of the data, and this defines channel ID. You got the idea? So 2 bytes, this 2 bytes will define the length, and this 2 bytes will define the channel ID. Channel ID is nothing but virtual channel ID, virtual channel ID. So 16 bits this and 16 bits this, and this is out of 343, 4 bytes gone, means the size of actual data is nothing but 343 minus 4, that is 339. 339 is the size of actual data, right? Size of actual data. So this is what you have to keep in right mind. So therefore the size of the packet that can arrive from upper layer can be only 339 bytes. And if the application layer sends a data packet bigger in size, so segmentation has to be done. So L2 cap is responsible for segmenting. Segmenting means chopping off the data into several segments. And when it is chopping off the data into several segments, the information has to be, additional information has to be added. What is that additional information that has to be added? What is the location of the segment in the original packet? whether it was first segment, second segment, third segment, or 34th segment, what was its position. So that is to be added in the information. So at source, L2 cap will segment the large packet into smaller packets of maximum size 339 what I meant to say bytes. So 339 bytes, and to that it attaches 4 bytes of more information, that is the length of the data, as well as the next 2 bytes are for virtual channel ID. So this is what is there. This L2 cap also enforces quality of service. Quality of service means basically it comprises of the minimum bit rate, maximum bit rate with which the data can be transferred, or average bit rate with which the data can be transferred. All that kind of information is called quality of service, right? But if quality of service level is not defined in Bluetooth, assume that you have not set quality of service. What will be the minimum bit rate? What will be average bit rate? What will be the maximum bit rate? What will be the throughput? What will be the delay? All that factors you have not set, in the Bluetooth. Then Bluetooth follows a default kind of service called as best effort service. The meaning of the word best effort service means the Bluetooth network will try its level best to transmit the data to the destination host, but it does not guarantee that destination host will receive the data safely. So this is what is best effort service, right? Now you have another what I meant to say service that L2 cap will provide is called as group management, right? It allows the devices to create a type of logical addressing between themselves, because there are 8 systems, 1 will be primary and 7 will be what I meant to say secondary. So logical addressing has to be created. Which one will be the first secondary, which one will be secondary, third secondary, and all. So it's a kind of similar to multicasting, like 2 or 3 secondary can join a multicast group to receive the data directly from the primary. So if they are in multicast group, they receive data at the same time from the primary, right? Now we have a baseband layer. So below the L2 cap layer, we had a baseband layer. So it is roughly equivalent to something called as MAC sublayer, what we have seen in the LANs, right? And the access method, how the medium is accessed is TDMA. So as we have seen, time division multiple access is TDMA. So primary and secondary stations, they will be communicating with each other in time slots because it is time division multiple access. So in the given time slot only, the primary will communicate with secondary, and given time slot only, secondary will communicate with the primary. So length of the time slot, you got the idea, is same as the dwell time. The meaning of the word dwell time, DWELL, dwell time means duration for which a slot is active, during which what I meant to say data transfer can occur is the slot, time slot is exactly 625 microsecond, right? So during the time that one frequency is used, a primary sends frame to secondary, or a secondary sends a frame to the primary. But both will not happen simultaneously. That primary is sending data to secondary, and secondary is sending data to primary simultaneously. It won't happen. Kind of you can say half duplex communication is what I meant to say followed. So this communication is only between primary and a secondary, right? But mind well, the secondary cannot communicate with another secondary directly. That indicates that the scenario is something like this. If I have a piconet something like this, and there is a primary station, right? This is a primary station. Let me make it bigger. So this is a primary station, and I have say 3 secondary stations. So this is S1, and say this is S2 stationary, second S2, and here secondary station S3. So 3 stations are there. These what I meant to say, S1 cannot directly communicate with S3. What it has to do, if S1 has to communicate with S3, this S1 has to send data to the primary. This primary in turn will send the data to S3. That means inter-secondary device communication is not allowed in Bluetooth. So any communication that has to happen, it happens through primary only. It happens through primary only. So this is what we have to keep in mind, right? Now we have a scenario in TDMA, time division multiple access. So Bluetooth uses a form of TDMA. That form of TDMA is basically called as TDD TDMA. TDD stands for time division duplex. Time division duplex TDMA. Now, what is this time division duplex TDMA? As I told earlier just now, that it's a kind of half duplex communication in which sender and receiver will send or receive the data not at the same time. That means if primary is sending data to secondary, secondary can receive the data, but it cannot send the data. And if secondary is sending data to the primary, primary can receive the data at the same time. It cannot send. So it's a kind of half duplex communication, and this half duplex communication sort of thing is called time division duplex TDMA. And the communication from each direction uses different hops. Now hops means time slot. Basically, it's a time slot. So primary can communicate to the secondary in one time slot, and secondary cannot communicate to the primary in the same time slot. No, primary can communicate to the secondary in one time slot, and secondary communicates with the primary in another time slot. So this is what has to be kept in mind. This is similar to kind of walkie-talkies, which are using different carrier frequency. Now, we will show two scenarios where we have, single secondary communication. That means in a piconet, there is only one primary and only one secondary. So this kind of what I mean to say communication is pretty very simple. So time is divided into slots of what I mean to say 625 microsecond. So primary will always use even numbered slots. Slot number 0, it will communicate to the primary, will communicate to the secondary. And secondary station uses odd number of slots. So first slot, then slot 0, slot 1, slot 2, slot 3, time slot 4, time slot 5. So in time slots 0, 2, 4, primary will communicate with his secondary. In time slot 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, these odd time slots, secondary communicates with the primary. So let us see how what I meant to say, communication happens. So in slot 0, primary sends and the secondary receives. In slot 1, secondary sends and primary receives. And the cycle is repeated. So here you can see this is what I meant to say primary, and I have what I meant to say, slots here, frequency 0, frequency 1, 2, 3. And this is a slot, if I take this as a slot 0, so this is nothing but a slot. So these are nothing but time slots. So these are nothing but time slots. So if I take this as a You got the idea, time slot. So this is 0th time slot. This is first time slot, second time slot, third time slot, fourth time slot. So time slot 0, time slot 2, time slot 4 are used by primary. So you can see primary is using what I meant to say. This is called hop. You got the idea. So this will transmit, data to the secondary. And secondary in odd time slot, it sends data to the primary. You got the idea. Primary again sends data in even slot. See, slot number 2, it sends data to the secondary, and secondary sends in odd slot number 3 to primary. And this goes on like this. Goes on like this. So we have and similarly, if multiple, what I meant to say, this thing is there. So as I have shown already, so it's showing the same thing. Now, multiple secondary communication. In multiple secondary communication, I have a single primary in the Piconet, and I may have more, what I meant to say, more than one secondary station. So in, say 0, so it's the same scenario. The slot 0, slot 2, slot 4 will be used by primary to send data to a particular secondary. And whichever secondary has received data from primary will send data in the next odd slot. So this is what is the communication. Now you can see here the scenario. There is in the Piconet, there is one primary and two secondaries, more than one secondary. That is, two secondaries are there. Now you can see here that primary has sent data in the slot number 0. So this is time slot number 0. So this is if I take this as a slot 0. This is slot 1, this is slot 2, slot 3, slot 4. Right, so slot 0, primary has sent data to first secondary, here, first secondary. So, in first slot, in the next odd slot, that means the first slot, this, what I meant to say, secondary, which has received the data from primary in the previous slot, will send the data. Now you have seen in second slot, the primary is sending data to secondary 2. So secondary 2 now, since it has received the data, secondary 1 will remain silent. Secondary 2 will send data to this. So whichever secondary receives the data from primary in the previous slot, it, what I meant to say, sends the data in the next, what I'm saying, odd slot. It will send data to the primary, and the remaining secondaries will remain silent. So this is what is the concept.